Hello, I'm John Ricciutti. Our person of interest today is Valerie Coleman. Valerie is the author of a book titled From Dragon's Teeth to the Eagle's Nest. The 14th Armored Division was referred to as the Liberators. She's here today to tell us her story. Today we will learn how Valerie came to write the book, and as I said earlier, her story. Welcome, Valerie, to Mainline TV.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I know you came a long way from what, Akron or Cincinnati or one of those Ohio states?
One of the flyover places, right?
Yeah.
No, I actually, I reside in a little suburb outside of Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So just a short drive to Detroit and then a flight over, so not too bad.
Oh, you flew in?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was about an hour and 20 minutes, so not too bad.
Yeah. You weren't always an author.
No, not at all.
What were you before an author?
So for many years, I was a human resource manager. And then once I discovered my grandfather's information, I happened to be in graduate school for social work. I was getting my master's of social work at Ohio State University. And so believe it or not, I wrote this book while I was in graduate school. Don't necessarily recommend that plan. That's a lot of writing. You have a lot of papers and other things while you're in graduate school. But once you have a passion for something and you discover something that you just need to find more about, I managed to fit in the time to write the book.
How did you obtain the material that you produced in this really, really good book?
Oh, thank you.
About the 14th Armored Division, full of pictures and artwork. How did that come about?
So my mother had a box of my grandfather's World War II paraphernalia. And Thanksgiving 2023, she happened to bring it out. We had just got done eating. We were kind of being lazy. You know, you have that after meal kind of nap portion
Sure.
of the day.
Yeah, it comes from eating the turkey.
Yeah. And I don't know, in Ohio, we're Browns fans. So naturally, you know, you have to feel sorry for us. I know you guys are huge Eagles fans out here. But we kind of just tend to root for the Lions. You know, it's a natural fit with Browns Lions traditionally not having much success. So we were watching the Lions and she brought out this box and in it contained, like I said, my grandfather's World War II paraphernalia. He had written a memoir on scrap pieces of paper. He was very much from the era of the Depression, didn't waste any paper. So he'd just taken scrap pieces of paper and scribbled down his memories. And then he had a tin can from a cashew nut jar of, I guess you'd call them old slides, like the photos he had taken. And they were in great shape. We got really lucky. So he had the wherewithal, to have a camera to bring with him to war. He did not have many means. He was...
That wasn't legal, though, was it, for him to have a camera?
I believe that was, yes. It was not a wise decision on his part to be snapping photos during battles and whatnot, but he did.
Yeah, because I think the military had their own photographers.
Right.
And I mean, the people that were like Hollywood people.
Oh, really?
Oh, sure.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
he was there taking pictures illegally.
Exactly. And he did not have, you know, a lot of money. So the fact he spent, I think it was $3 on a camera back then would have been, you know, very difficult for him to come up with the funds and everything.
Yeah.
But he did. He had the photos. He had some of them in envelopes outside of the tin can, but they were just labeled very basic labels like Germany. That was it. No dates, no background info.
Were they slides or actually printed photos?
No, they were slides.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to convert them.
Exactly.
Was this the first time you saw this box?
Yep.
So was the box ever spoken about or talked about before?
Not to my knowledge.
So it was
no.
just like it was like serendipitous. Your grandmother said, "Hey, listen, I got this box of stuff. You want to take a look at it?"
Yep, it was in an attic and just sitting there waiting to be discovered, basically. So yes.
You never talked to your grandfather. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. We knew he was in the war, but we did not know any of the accomplishments he made. Like he let it be known that he was in World War II, but he didn't talk much more than that.
So when your grandmother brought this box of pictures out, slides. Was he still with us or he had passed?
He passed when I was a junior in college in 1998.
Okay,
So he had been
okay.
not with us for quite some time. So
Okay,
yeah.
so you never really had a chance to talk to him about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was all just a mystery. So
you converted the slides to pictures?
So the funny thing is, I ended up starting to do a little bit of research, and it turns out his battalion was the 501st. And are you familiar with Carl Jung? Have you ever heard of Carl Jung, the theorist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he came up with a theory called synchronicity. And synchronicity is when a coincidence happens, so it's totally coincidental, but it feels as if there's meaning behind it. So with the 501st Battalion, I started doing all this research, and all that would come up is the Stormtrooper cosplay unit is also called the 501st Battalion from Star Wars. Now, if you know me, I am a huge Star Wars geek.
No, I did not know that, but I do know now.
Okay. I mean, I have...
You're a Star Wars geek.
I have a whole room devoted in my house to my Star Wars fandom.
How far does it go back? To the original one, like in the 70s?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was a pretty good athlete. My parents used to incentivize me with soccer goals. They would let me buy a toy. So I have like a huge collection of action figures. I have a huge collection of anything Star Wars, you name it. I have it in this room. It's a little embarrassing, but so I was frustrated because that's all I could find was the 501st Stormtrooper Battalion.
Right.
But in a weird way, it was kind of like, I felt like it was a little nudge from my grandfather, like, keep going, you're going to figure this out and you're going to find out stuff that's amazing. So after much research, I hit the jackpot and I found there was one man in his battalion that literally detailed pretty much week by week what towns they fought in, what significant thing happened in the towns. And I found it online through a Facebook group of the ancestors of the 14th Armored Division. So it turns out his 14th Armored Division are called the Liberators because they liberated over 100,000 people from the Nazi prison camps.
When you say 100,000 people, were they POWs or were they people that were in camps that were like...
Both.
Both.
Yep.
Both.
Yep.
Oh, camps that were death camps for whomever
So
the Nazis rounded up.
Right. The camp they're most famous for liberating was featured in Masters of the Air recently.
Right, yes.
Highly recommend that series. Last episode, they go into Moosburg and they free that camp. I watched that scene by myself, and tears were streaming down my eyes when I watched it because they're literally depicting what my grandfather would have done, and he never, like I said, he never talked about it, he never bragged about it. It was truly amazing. And then they also are known for liberating the camp Hammelburg. That's what Hogan's Heroes was based off of.
Hogan's Heroes.
Yes. So if you're familiar with that show.
Yes, I am.
My mom told me that they used to watch it when she was little, and he never let it be known that was one of the ones he liberated. That is a whole story in and of itself with what all happened at that camp. Patton's son-in-law was being imprisoned there, as well as Stalin's son, his oldest son. And Patton tried to pull the trigger a little early. He sent 300 people to liberate it in March of 45. Only 35 of the 300 came back. That's how ill-equipped they were to go liberate it at the time. They literally had to stop and ask for directions on the way. But eventually, my grandfather's unit got there and was able to successfully liberate it. So,
where does their path of liberation start?
So he came up through Marseille and then kind of went like through southern France and then into the Alsace. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I know.
I've been taking French and I still can't pronounce things very well.
I get that.
But he was like south of like the Battle of the Bulge area.
Okay.
So they actually did provide some support to Battle of the Bulge, but mainly stayed south of there, like I said. So
did one of the pictures, there was just a painting of a woman. Where was that painting taken from? Do you know?
Are you talking about one that my sister had?
Yes.
We do not know.
It wasn't taken from Berchtesgaden Garden or Wolf's Lair? No,
I don't know, to be honest. No.
That's a fascinating piece.
Yeah, for sure.
So did your grandfather enlist or was he drafted?
He enlisted, so he basically, during the bombing of Pearl Harbor, like so many people, was motivated to serve his country after that. My grandmother did not want him to enlist. She begged and cried and pleaded for him not to. But eventually they came up with the decision for him to still do it. And a funny story in the book, on the way they were driving, and she was actually driving the car to...
Your grandmother?
My grandmother was, yeah. And they got pulled over for speeding. And so she was already sobbing and crying and in that mode. And then the police officer asked what was going on, and he let them out of the ticket since he found out, what their mission was. So
when you said your grandfather was going to enlist and your grandmother didn't want him to, was he not 18?
No, he was. They were actually married. They were in their early 20s. So they just were recent newlyweds.
Oh, your grandfather and your grandmother?
My grandmother, yeah. They just got married, and then Pearl Harbor happened, and it was just really bad timing for,
Was he a native Ohioan?
So my grandfather was from Auburn, New York, which is a little town just outside of Syracuse. It gets a ton of snow. I do not recommend visiting there in the winter. But so that's where actually I was born and raised till the age of 4, and then moved to Ohio.
Your family moved to Ohio?
Yeah.
So you got inspired after you got this box of stuff, pictures, and whatever else was in that box. Did your grandfather bring back any other things? Like a lot of veterans brought, I'm going to say, souvenirs back.
Yes.
Whatever theater they were fighting in, Pacific or the Atlantic, they would bring back either firearms or daggers or flags. Did he bring any of that stuff back?
He did. There's a couple pictures of the paraphernalia that he had brought back.
I saw them in the book.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
What happened to them?
So some of the stuff he sold for $100, which again would have been a lot of money to him back then. I know. So
could have bought a house today.
Right, exactly. And then some of the stuff, my grandmother was not okay with Nazi paraphernalia being in the house, which obviously is understandable. So I don't know if she threw it away or gave it away or what the deal was, but we are no longer in possession of most of it.
Sounds like he brought, judging by the picture I saw in the book, he did bring back a lot of stuff.
Yes. He had some interesting encounters after the war too, where he had some interactions with some SS officers. So I think he had some of their things he picked up or traded, or I don't know exactly where it came from.
Traded while he was in Germany?
Yeah. So he tells the story in the book.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. He had an infection in his knuckle, and he was guarding an SS surgeon, and I never could find out the name of the surgeon. But he didn't have any American medical personnel to operate on this infected knuckle. So his commanding officer told him to go see the SS surgeon. And he went into the room and went under, and had this finger operated on. And at one point he says, I don't know if this was such a good decision, but it worked out. The guy took care of him, and thankfully he was okay from the knuckle. But that could have ended very badly, obviously. I wouldn't be sitting here if that were the case. Could
have removed his trigger finger.
Yeah, or who knows what else. But yeah, I looked through the morning reports of trying to find, because it was someone they were guarding, so it must have been somebody pretty significantly, bad.
Yeah. So that inspired you to write the book.
Yes.
And then how did you, I think you said earlier, you did some research on the 14th Armored Division, and you wanted you to try to find living relatives and whomever.
So,
how did you go about doing that?
So one of the positives of social media nowadays is the fact that you can connect so easily with people. So there is a Facebook group that I'm a part of for the 14th Armored Division descendants. And that was kind of what kickstarted everything. From there, I was able to connect with military experts from France, Germany, all over the U.S. I myself am not a military person. I don't have experience. I don't have the knowledge as much as, certainly other people. So these people were so kind and so phenomenally helpful. They would, I would send them a picture of, a random hill that my grandfather had taken on the top of his M7 Priest. And I would send it off to these experts, and within an hour they would come back and say, this is the region, here's the up-to-date picture of what it looks like now on Google. Here's most likely the time frame he took it in, just knowing where it was in the region. It was just, everybody was bent over backwards helpful and excited. They loved the pictures. Some of these pictures are just, like you said, he shouldn't have taken them, so they're unbelievable. He has some of these photos in this book. So
well, he's
really
not.
cool.
He's not with us anymore. So no one can do anything. So you have the pictures.
Yes.
And, you're good.
I'm good. Hopefully, yeah.
What did he volunteer to be a tanker?
So I don't think he volunteered to. The way he always portrayed it to us was he was not a very good shot. And I think he even says that a little bit in his memoir, that he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So they had him, it was actually an armored artillery field battalion vehicle. And he was in the #1 position. So there's a video I have that we're pretty sure it's him, but can't be 100% sure. But anyways, he would have the machine gun, and then he would also pull a lanyard that would fire the big canyon type feature. So I think he greatly downplayed what he did in terms of firing and that sort of thing to us. I'm sure it was hard for him to rectify that he might have, killed or hurt quite a few people during his
collateral
experience.
Damage?
Yeah, exactly.
Was the mission of the 14th Armor, was it to, I can't imagine, but I'll let you answer it.
Sure.
Was it to liberate, or did that just come about?
I believe that just came about. So the thing they're most well known for, besides the prison camp liberations, is the Battle of Hatton-Rittershofen. And if I could have a magic wand, I would do a documentary tomorrow just on that battle alone, because it was so significant of a battle that gets overlooked by history, in my opinion. Everybody's heard of Battle of the Bulge. But what happened was Hitler learned his lessons from Battle in the Bulge and put everything into this battle of these little towns called Hatton and Rittershofen. And that's where my grandfather and his division were able to successfully hold. And then that allowed basically the Western Front to start freeing up since Hitler had to pull his people. He actually planned the attack New Year's Eve to try to catch them off guard. It was planned by Hitler himself, and it didn't work. And so thankfully, it's a very successful key battle, again, that I think it's overlooked by history. So I would love to get more information out there about that battle.
If you could ask your grandfather questions, what would you ask him?
So after the war, he served as an interpreter for what he referred to as the displaced people.
Interpreter of what language?
He grew up in a Polish household, so he spoke fluent Polish. He was not an educated man. He only finished 10th grade through high school, didn't graduate high school ever in his life. So the fact that he talked about in the book how, or his memoir, that when he started speaking Polish, he was shocked. Everybody there understood it, even if they weren't from Poland. So he became this interpreter, unbeknownst to him, and he preferred to spend his time with the displaced people after the war, learning from them, learning from their stories. I would love to ask him what all he learned during that time frame, because he would have been one of the first people to spend time with these people who were in the prison camps and the labor camps, et cetera. To hear their stories would have been unbelievable. So.
Do you think he did that interpretation in Europe, or do it in the United States?
He did it in Germany. Yep.
How long was he stationed in Germany after? Was he there after the war?
Yes, he was there.
During occupied Germany?
Close to a year after the war. He did get to go back a little bit earlier than his division because he was married. I guess there was a point system, and that got him a little bit more increased points to be able to return earlier. But he was still there for quite some time and helped manage that process. And
so these were people that were Polish prisoners, either from the Polish army and I do know that the Germans conscripted some Polish men to be in the German army, and many of them died in Stalingrad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So after did your grandmother? I mean, you get this box. I'm just thinking of what I would have done.
Right.
So did you say to your grandmother, whatever you called her, grandma? Did Stanley ever tell you anything about this? Did you ask her questions? Did you try to grill her?
So it was my mom. My grandmother's also, she was passed.
Okay.
Even younger than my grandfather. But yeah, so when I would find out these tidbits of information, I'd be like, Mom, did you know that grandfather's division freed, this camp or and she had no idea. Like I said, he never.
Yeah.
So I'm a mental health therapist. I'm a mental health professional. I truly can believe that PTSD was very significant for him throughout his life. And
throughout his life.
yes, I remember as a kid, he went to an amusement park with us and couldn't get on the boat that rocked, the little boat ride through the Smurf village, because he couldn't do anything that rocked due to, I'm guessing, the ship bringing them to the port to go fight. He had trouble sleeping. It really affected him very much long term. And so, as a mental health therapist and trying to be an advocate nowadays, I think it's very important to make sure that people know, you need to take care of your mental health. You need to seek help. We have clinical interventions that can help people with that. So
you're going to go to the Radnor Library.
Yes.
And present your book.
Yes.
How are you going to present it? Like, what are you going to say?
So this will be.
Are you going to take the book and then hold it up, or no? What are you going to do?
I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I took. It's hard to put everything into a 45-minute talk because there's so many amazing stories and photos that he took. But I just highlight what I thought was the most amazing ones. And talk about from a personal aspect who he was, what those were significant for in our family and things like that. So.
And that's what you're going to do? Use a PowerPoint?
Yep, exactly.
And can you give me an example of like any of the stories that you want to talk about?
Well, one example is he had the craziest thing to me was the most insignificant pictures to my eye initially ended up being the most remarkable ones. So he had pictures of a couple wrecked planes, just like in the distance.
Oh yeah, I know.
Remember that? Okay.
Yes.
So it turns out that was an underground facility that the Nazis were forcing people to work at to make their Me-262 planes. And so they would force these poor people to carry 110-pound bags of concrete over and over again all day long. And if they couldn't handle it, they'd ship them off to Auschwitz. So by the time my grandfather's division got there, they cleared the airfield. And as he referred to it, they had mole feelings, like the animal mole. And they discovered this underground bunker that they, had hidden from the Allied forces. So just a picture of a wrecked plane turning into something like that to me was absolutely amazing. Another really, really cool thing, I could go on forever about this,
no,
this
please.
stuff.
It's your show.
There was a tank he had a picture of, and there were some, guys climbing around in the tank. And I was like, oh, that's neat. And I sent it off to my experts, and they're like, Val, do you know what this is? No, I have no clue. It's pronounced a Yad Tigur. It was the deadliest weapon, or one of the deadliest weapons the Nazis had in their forces. They had 3 of these things take out 25 Sherman tanks in one battle. Like, they were crazy, amazing tanks. So my grandfather's division came upon this Yad Tigur that they had destroyed. And one of my researchers recalled seeing a video online of that exact scene that my grandfather took a picture of. So he sent me a clip and said, watch this video. I think it's your grandfather's photo in this video. And it was remarkable, the timing of, and just the knowledge and everything I was able to tap into that helped me so much with the research. I mean, that's so amazing to me that he could recall that from years ago.
Your researchers, would you have a team?
Yeah, so there was, like I said, people willing to get back to me from Germany, France, all over the U.S.
How did you reach out to them?
So one thing I am is I'm assertive. I don't mind when I have something I want to accomplish, I take the step, and I'll, I usually started off with like an email or, some sort of kind of passive thing. If it didn't get a response, I was willing to call or, do whatever needed to be done to follow up on this stuff. So It worked out though. They were, like I said, they were really responsive. I was very fortunate in that sense.
One of the things that a person that was in a camp that I interviewed, I asked him most recently, what was the thing that was most distinctive about being in a camp? And I am sure your grandfather would have said the same thing, the smell.
I can't even imagine.
The smell of rotting bodies, the smell of human excrement,
Right.
urine,
Right.
the smell of just people just sitting there, And I don't know how well prisoners were taken as far as they were prisoners, some of the Allies were British, Canadian. Your grandfather, he liberated them as well.
Yes. So the Moosberg had every country that fought against Germany had someone in that camp. Just that one camp alone that they liberated. It had every single country. And he described that camp
Were they all Jews?
No, I believe they were all sorts of, different...
Gypsies and political prisoners and whatever.
Soldiers that were captured,
Okay.
POWs. So when he came upon that camp, he tells the story where they were driving through and they had to move. They had to go. They had to go to the next place to try to help. And there was a gentleman who was so starving, he ran out and ran after a live chicken. And he said he didn't stop to see what happened, but you can imagine,
He just ate the chicken.
Exactly.
They weren't like looking for camps.
No.
As they would go through a certain town, there would be a camp.
Exactly. They had no idea it was 89 acres, I believe the Moosberg was. They had no idea about its existence until they literally came upon it. And it was just this huge, huge prison camp. So unbelievable.
They were just motoring along and in there they just came.
Yep.
Was there a town there?
Yes, I believe
And the townspeople knew that this was there?
I believe the interviews that happened after the war is that they kind of knew stuff was going on, but they never really wanted to admit it, but I'm sure they knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're on social media with the 14th Armor?
Yes, it is a Facebook group. It's even if you're not a member of the Descendants, it's still a great group to follow. They have all sorts of amazing stuff they come up with all the time just in World War II. If somebody's interested in the topic, I highly recommend checking out the group. So,
have you gotten more notoriety because of this? The 14th Armor, they weren't I hate to tell you, they weren't the most decorated armor division.
No, it's okay.
The third was.
Yeah.
I did my own research team of me.
Yeah.
Research to see.
Well, I'm a little partial, so.
Yeah. But the third armor division were called the Spearheads, but to be called the Liberators, quite frankly, and ironically, we interviewed the son of a Tuskegee airman here.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he knew about he was liberated by the Liberators in the 14th Armor Division. So I happened to bring that up to him when we did the interview here.
And to just think he never talked about it. You know what I mean? Like he could have bragged and said,
Stanley never talked to your grandmother about it at all?
Not to our knowledge, no. Yeah. He came home and
what did he do in his life after that?
He worked in a factory. He cleaned hotels. He was very much a hard worker. He was a laborer, basically. So he gave the opportunity to my mother to go to college. She became a master's in education.
Your mother?
My mom, yep. So didn't do anything easy himself, but gave my mom the opportunity to.
Did he belong to any things like American Legion or VFW or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge. The one thing he had a passion with is art. So he did enter numerous art contests, and these were in the box too. These.
I don't recall seeing these. Are they in the book?
They are sporadically through the book, and then towards the end, I tried to date match it with his story. So. He was an untrained artist. He just had this natural talent. I will tell you, I inherited zero of his art talent. I am not an artist, but I can appreciate art.
Well, you are an artist. You wrote a book.
Well, thank you. That's true. But
this one is here, February 24th, 1945, which is just literally 3 months.
Yeah. So
May 1st, 1945, the war's unofficially ended.
Yep. So, this stuff to me is priceless because, it's love letters to from him to my grandmother while he's fighting. And it's just, so cool that we have this. And now one of the people who I utilized to research the book was a person who runs a museum in Arkansas, and that is where they did their basic training, was at Fort Smith. So they have a military museum down there, and that's most well known for where Elvis got his haircut for the military. I don't know if you remember that scene. So they now have this big barbershop museum and military museum, and so she has his artwork on these V-mails featured in the museum. So my mom and I drove down there
that's neat.
a year ago, it'd be last November, to see him in the museum, and he would just be absolutely floored to know that his artwork is featured in a museum. So that's pretty cool.
How would you like your grandfather's legacy to be remembered?
That's a good question. He was so kind. He was so gentle, and to think that he did what he needed to do to make the world better and to stand up against atrocities, to me, is what's most important. I think the way we honor the Liberators and the other World War II veterans is to share their story and to speak out against people who are marginalized in our society. So,
And oppressed.
And oppressed, exactly. Unfortunately, that does happen, and we're not perfect, but we can sure try to help. So,
Well, I certainly enjoyed the time.
Thank you.
It
Me
flew
too.
by.
It did.
30 minutes flies by.
Is it really 30? Oh my goodness.
It's more than it's 31 now.
Okay.
We'll be getting the hook. I'll be seeing you tonight at
Great.
the Library.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate it.
Again, with our person of interest, this is John Ricciutti, and I hope you enjoyed this show. It was particularly educational, informative, and yes, entertaining. And until next time.